right. Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to Minds Behind the Music. I am your host, LA. Here with me are my two wonderful co-hosts.
Hello.
What's up?
Now, it is known as the topic of expanding your horizons as a musician. You know, kind of getting out of your comfort zone. It is known as the Now, what I mean by this is when people start to say learn an instrument or they like learn how to sing and all that other stuff, they're just like, "Hey, I like this genre. I'm influenced by this artist. I like this artist." And this really gets me into they wonder how they're going to go further with that. Before I continue, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, but you're cutting in and out most of the
Yeah.
time.
That is so strange. I should have started the router before this, but I'm on my sister watching TV. But as I was saying before, a lot of musicians out there want to learn how to get better at their playing their instrument or singing, this other stuff. But a lot of those same musicians stick to one genre, and that's about it. And then when they listen to other genres of music that are very, very different from what they listen to, 90% of the time they're like this.
Jesus Christ, my ears!
And I really never understand. I understand why, but at the same time, I don't, because a lot of the time, yeah, like y-
No, I think he cut out.
Oh, I thought that was me.
No, I think he just cut out.
Uh, what do we do now?
Okay, so I guess what he was trying to get at, to keep the discussion going while he figures that out, is that when it comes to, because I think we've had a talk about this not too long ago about having inspirations and stuff like that. And more or less, when it comes down to getting out of your musical comfort zone, I remember, I guess, if I can give you a story, more or less,
Go
it's
ahead.
I mean, I haven't really been into, I haven't really been into math rock, but I've been into jazz, right? And
Right.
then with a few other people that I've assimilated with over the years, I've gotten more of a taste of math rock, and then I started getting into that. And I mean, same thing with shoegaze. I found people that were into shoegaze, and then I like shoegaze, and then you know, I mean, but it always depends on the taste of music too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
not, it's all types of music are not gonna be everybody's cup of tea. It's not, that's not how the world is.
I I could definitely sympathize. I never used to be much into jazz at all. I was strictly like a just wanted to play like blues and stuff. And my drummer goes to NJIT for jazz theory, right, and jazz performance. And once he started getting me into like all these different like jazz artists, I just kind of took it off from there and started mostly from like all the bebop guys in the 50s and just kind of went onward to now where I'm really into like the jazz top scene. And um I feel like that definitely mixes in with like the lo-fi and the hip hop and the uh oh, see and shoegaze and math rock. I feel like that all kind of has like blended together today in some way.
yeah. Sorry
You
about that.
you play shoegaze?
I pretend that I could play shoegaze. I I try.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
I know of a few guys whom I haven't really associated with for a while. We play shoegaze. We used to play in a shoegaze band, which almost took off and stuff. But I guess people get a little bit overwhelmed and stuff like that. So depends.
Yeah, it's easy to.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Anything
Any-
that's complicated or even a little out there, it's hard to get people to listen to it in a bar.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now we can
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I was suffering some technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi today. I'll have a look at that later. But yeah, as what you were saying before, I know that shoegaze, and you're a very jazz-oriented player, Greg. But I know you're also very much into other genres too. Like
Mhm.
you and I have talked about like rock bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica. We talked about Slayer a couple of
Yeah.
times,
Mhm.
and Mason and I are in a prog rock band, technically.
I hear it nonstop.
What the? Oh, between Boogie and I. Whenever
Oh,
we talk
God.
about Iron Maiden. Yeah, because Boogie and I are huge Maiden nerds. And what do you call it? Monday's show was actually about Iron Maiden because Steve Harris turned 65 over the weekend. So I was just kind of celebrating him with my buddy Mike from Retro Spin Vinyl.
Oh, he's the guy that he came to one of our gigs, right?
Yes, he came to one of our gigs.
I remember him. He was really chill. He was a really chill guy.
Yeah, I have him on the show sometimes. I'm trying to get him and a few other vinyl people onto this show as well.
Mm.
But yeah, on to like what I really want to talk about today is just how you're going to expand your horizons, and like how other like as a musician, why you should expand your horizons, because this is just, again, my opinion. If anyone here, including my two co-hosts, if they don't agree with me, that's totally okay. That's their opinion. And there was an article that I actually have too, or if you could call it that. It's an article on like how you can expand your musical horizons that we'll go over a little bit of, and then we'll also discuss. But here it goes. Expanding your musical horizons. Looking beyond your norm. There comes a point in many musicians' lives when they realize a simple fact: in order to progress and gain mastery of your chosen instrument, you will need to learn to play music in which you don't necessarily like. Musicianship is all about developing your skill as a musician, and that means developing skills across the board. Now, I'll tell you guys like how when I first started playing my instrument, which is bass. When I first started playing bass, I was a huge metalhead, and I know that Mason, you probably know that, and I'm sure Greg probably knows that too.
Mhm.
I was a huge metalhead. Like I was listening to mostly Iron Maiden. I was listening to Black Sabbath. I was even listening to Metallica at the time. I was a huge metalhead, and I even listened to bands like Pantera. It's limitless, like at least when it came to metal. But during that time when I was like picked up the bass, like months and months after, I was hearing myself, and I'm wondering like, why am I not improving? Why am I like still in the same place that I was when I started? And I was still like questioning everything, like what's going on with me. And somewhere out of the blue, I was like, you know what? I'm like, what other bass players out there are really good that aren't in metal or aren't in rock music? I say that you really look up to this guitarist, or you really enjoy this kind of band because of this member. Like, yeah, that's cool. That's very cool and all, but when you really break it down, you also got to take to account what made them who they are. Like, for example, Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, or actually all the members of Iron Maiden, 90% of them aren't even like metal players. Like they their influences or the bands that really got them to start playing their instruments weren't really of the metal genre. They just Iron Maiden just happened to be a traditional heavy metal band because that sound suited them. What do you guys have to say about that?
I
So-
mean, oh no, go ahead, Greg.
So, more or less, I guess it's just for me. I would say it's just the taste of music, man. It's just like not every music is gonna be my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my ear, man. It's just what my ear is gonna gravitate to and what I'm gonna play. You know, because if I don't see myself playing it, I'm not gonna listen to it.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. What were you gonna say, Mason?
Oh, well, in the terms of Iron Maiden, I mean, I was never much of a metalhead myself, but I definitely found myself improving once I stopped calling myself a blues guitarist and just started calling myself a guitarist. Like, I feel like there's a perceived difference in not only like, okay, you want to play something else, but you got to change your rhetoric, right? Like, I called
Mhm.
myself a blues guitarist. Instantly, I limited myself to that. Whereas when I stopped thinking of myself to just that group, then I was like, oh, cool, jazz exists. Oh, like prog rock, like
Mhm.
jazz hop, lo-fi, awesome, and now I feel like, especially in the past year, I've been building upon more than just, oh, I can play some blues licks and throw on a flat five every now and then,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's actually how I started with with my bass playing as well. I first started as a metal bassist or a metal bass player, and I didn't think of myself anything more than just that. Like when I first started playing the instrument, but then I decided to get that label off of me because when you really think about it, even the biggest players that play like one particular genre, they don't consider themselves like a metal player, a blues player, a jazz player. They just consider themselves musicians.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
did you have anything else you wanted to say about that, Greg?
No, man. I'm gonna head out, my friends, because I'm definitely getting I feel my body shutting down.
All right, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have a reason. I've been burning the candle at both ends on the podcast, on my main podcast, on the main podcast. So
Yeah, don't
People
forget to
expect-
subscribe to this channel, Red Sings
yeah,
the Blues.
definitely. Yeah,
I
man.
hope-
We're growing like every single day. We just refreshed it. It's 1,113 subscribers. Yeah, man. Like, yeah, once you become like, and that's the thing about a podcast. Once you become the leader, the spokesperson of it, the people expect more of you because you're the leader.
Yeah. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for discussing like the genre of music that you play while I was experiencing the technical difficulties. That
Yeah,
was
no
a
problem, man.
big help.
No problem, man. Anything for friends.
Yeah, thank you, man.
No problem.
Hope you have a good night.
You too,
And
man.
guys, don't forget to subscribe to Red Sings the Blues. Where I've been helping Greg out with that podcast long before I started this one.
Yeah,
So-
man. He's my main co-host.
So
He's my main
definitely check
co-host.
that out.
Second to the distinguished man. That's my real co-host. Real co-host is right up here.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
All right, see you later.
All right, see ya.
And then there were
Alright.
two.
Mm-hmm. Not like the Genesis album where it was then there were three when Steve Hackett
Right.
left. But I'm going to continue with the article. Looking past your favorite and breaking the mold. We all have our favorite genres. Even looking beyond that, we all have songs, albums, and artists we listen to because they provide the soundtrack to certain things that go on in our lives. For instance, the music you listen to at 3 a.m. after a heavy night out is perhaps different to the music you listen to before a gym session. I know for me it is. But by and large, people tend to know what they like and stick to it, which is the point that Greg was making before. Like a lot of people are like, they listen to the genres of music that they, there's a norm. A lot of people say there's heavy metal fans out there that just stick to that genre and listen to say different subgenres of heavy metal. And sometimes, they will have a few other genres out there, like maybe country, country rock, southern rock, blues. Sometimes they'll have other rock genres, and it'll just be that, and it'll be that little realm. And I know there's some people out there that are strictly in the glam metal genre because, it blends a lot of other genres of music together, but it's one particular identity or identical genre in which they can relate to. Did you have something you wanted to say about that, Mason?
Yeah, actually. I think that's really where creativity starts to breed, right? I mean, again, like I was saying earlier when you were reading the preface for the article, it's like you keep yourself confined to one genre, and when you finally branch out, sure, now you're in those other genres, right? Like you can play some jazz licks, all right? You can orchestrate in the way that maybe lo-fi does with its very vibrato and vinylish, so just the orchestration of it, really. But it's when you take those different genres and blend them together that something really special happens. I mean, again, jazz hop. All right, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what two genres that stemmed from, right? And that would have never happened had some guys who were jazz artists or vice versa gone, we're going to blend this because we know both and it'd sound really cool together. Like prog rock, all right, like classical music, blues, and the rock band setting, prog rock. I mean,
yeah. And I think I've mentioned this before, like music is just artists influencing each other. Like there's no other way around that. Like different genres of music is just artists influencing each other. Like rock and roll is just the blues artists and the country artists and all these other genres influencing people to create a whole new genre for a different decade or a newer decade. Nick Riccardi, sorry you weren't told about the stream, but I'm glad you found it. Hope you come here to stay and enjoy the show. Yeah, Scream right here. Scream. Yeah, I love the memes he's making out of our songs. I do appreciate that.
Meme band.
Yeah. That's the goal, to be the meme band.
Yeah.
No one else is gonna tell you to be the meme band other than yourself. Let's continue. There's nothing wrong with this approach, but consider how many millions of hours worth of music there is out there in the world, and what a tiny fraction of it you're actually aware of. Even just playing the percentages, it makes sense that there's a load of stuff you might be into that you don't even know exists. If you're looking for inspiration, check out the Discover section on SoundCloud or the Discover Weekly section on Spotify. That I think that could also work for different, like, say those people that are, like the Filthy Frank made fun of, the I hate my generation kids, or the people that are like, oh, my generation sucks. I miss the 80s, I miss the 60s, I miss the 70s, I miss the 40s or something like that. And then they might actually, like, when they take the time to listen to look for good music that's out there now, and to actually like broaden that horizon, they might end up enjoying it. You never know. Like, for example, in 2018, that's when I first discovered Greta Van Fleet. I know they're an acquired taste, but I know personally I end up
if you like
enjoying
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin. Even though Led Zeppelin was known for, their influences as well. But it just happens. What did I have an announcement to make? What announcement do you have to make, Mr. Riccardi? I would really like to know. All right, very insightful.
I bet you he probably had to Google for that fancy H for like a couple minutes.
Yeah, or she had to Google the font. Oh man.
The break time.
Oh man. That's just me when writing an essay.
Uh,
Think it. Oh, what were you gonna say?
I'm definitely going to use the Discover on Spotify from now on. I actually never thought about that. Like, I know it's
Mm.
like, I've always seen it like discover new artists, and I
Mhm.
don't think I've ever really given it the time of day, but I think I'm going to try and do that from now on. I think that'd be a really good thing. Like, once a week.
Yeah, and there's actually, speaking of which, I actually don't use Spotify. I'm one of the few people that uses Apple Music, and
Ooh.
on yeah, on Apple Music they have different genres. They have different things that or different settings when you look at the made for you, or like just the main page. It'll be like stations for you, new songs added, like just different suggestions, or new releases, or different, just all different ideas and different suggestions. It'll be like, hey, since you like this artist, try listening to this artist, or if you like this kind of music, try listening to this. It's not exactly the same, but you might actually end up liking it. See, Discover on Spotify is actually pretty solid. I found a lot of great songs and bands, and honestly, seriously, kudos to you for going out there and expanding your horizons. That's basically what this whole stream is about, or this podcast
Bass,
right now. And I know you're, uh, Nick, you're getting into bass playing, from what I heard.
basically.
And yeah, basically. I I could give you a lot of suggestions that you may not have even known, or there's some bands out there that I can give you that uh may actually then you may actually never have listened to, or never, these genres of music that you never have been aware of, that actually are pretty bass heavy, pretty crucial to your learning process.
It's
That
going to start off with Iron Maiden. I'm calling it right now. It's starting off with Iron Maiden.
I want to suggest Iron Maiden first, but there's so many other things. There's so many other artists that I could even suggest him that are even more bare bones. What did he say? We
Yakko.
when I progress avenue, or me when I progress avenue. Yeah. Oh, Jocko. Yeah. No, he's
Jocko.
not ready for Jocko. I don't think he's ready for Jocko.
I don't think
I'm not
anybody's
ready
ready for Jocko.
Yeah, I'm not ready for Jocko. And I've been playing bass for like 6 years. No, actually, scratch that. 7. It's probably almost 7 or 8 years since I started playing bass, and I'm still not ready for Jocko.
Mm.
What was I gonna say? And I actually, there's the one really bare bones bass player that I can really give to him that's good for beginners, or like beginner to intermediate, is Paul McCartney. Listen to a lot of the early Beatles bass lines, like Twist and Shout, Rain, When the Rain Comes Around. I hope I don't get blocked for that, because I don't know how strict the Beatles is with the copyright. But yeah, there's Rain, blah, blah, blah. Twist and Shout. Twist and Shout has a pretty challenging bass line.
You might want to be careful saying the titles too. They might they might flag you just for saying the title.
Oh, it's just like I'm suggesting the songs. I don't even understand that. I'm suggesting the songs for people to listen to. I'm not claiming these songs are mine.
Rick Beato.
Oh, poor Rick.
Rip the legend.
Like, whenever he does those like 20 great guitar riffs, 20 great bass riffs, and all that, I feel so bad for him, because he can't even mention the name of the song or play the song normally, because the YouTube will just automatically take down his video. And it's
so first up on our list.
Yeah.
First up on our list is a song from 1977, and it has guitar and drums and bass, and it's 3 minutes long. and it has that cool thing in the middle. You know what I'm talking about? You know it's number one. I can't say the title, but that's what it is.
Yeah. Another suggestion I have for Mr. Riccardi, our good friend Nick, if you really want some like challenging bass, but like nothing that's too like over the top, but it's still like, you know, it still presents a challenge. Listen to some of the early James Brown songs. Like listen to a lot of James. I've been listening to some James Brown. Um
Ooh.
the song I Feel Good, like if I don't get flagged for that, I don't want to risk singing that because a lot of the older songs have a huge copyright risk. But I Feel Good by James Brown, it came out in the 60s. It's a pretty popular song. YouTube police is at your house. Oh god, they shot the dog. I don't have a dog. Who do they shoot? But oh, man.
Dude,
yeah, check out
James
some
Brown.
James Brown.
James Brown is, but he's funny to me, man. You know, it's like his backing band. I forget who told this joke. I think it was maybe it was Chappelle. I don't remember, but
I think it might have been Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, no, it was on Delirious. Eddie Murphy's Delirious. He was like,
hilarious.
You can.
I love Delirious.
It's like, yeah, the backing band, they don't even know what he's saying. They just respond. He's like, yeah, and they're like, yeah, like they're like, oh god, we just got to respond with something.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went. But yeah, I would suggest James Brown. Bootsy Collins is just a monster on bass. Like he's a madman when it comes to bass lines. Like Sex Machine, the get up, you know. If I don't get blocked for that, that bass line it's not like the hardest bass line, but it's not the easiest one either. It's a lot of like you got to take to account the rhythm because you always got to take to account the rhythm when it comes to the bass. But there's not a lot of notes, but the way that the notes are being played, that's the real challenge. And that's just another suggestion. Sex Machine by James Brown. I think it either came out in 1970 or 71. I don't remember, but check that out. Another group that has quality bass that isn't at least for most of their songs, that isn't super challenging. Or if you want to get into other techniques like slap and all this other, and this doesn't just go for Nick. It goes for just anyone else listening to this that is into playing bass. I would suggest Sly and the Family Stone. There's literally a song called Everyday People that just plays that it's just on the low G, which is the third fret of the E string. And all that throughout the whole song, it's just that string that boom 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 boom. It's
Running with the Devil.
Yeah, Running with the Devil. Well, the Running with the Devil is just E, and then it goes to A, and then it goes back to E, and that's pretty.
You
much
can't
it.
forget the slide. Bam, bam,
oh yeah.
Bam,
Bing.
bam,
Bam,
bam.
You can't forget that bing boom bing that part either on Running with the Devil.
Of course.
Meme. POV, you're in a Beatles tribute band.
Actually, when I was a freshman in high school, this was the summer after my freshman year, right? And there was this Beatles tribute band. It was given a free concert over a park near my house. And I went and saw them, and they were actually really, really, really good. And they not only nailed the music, they nailed the mannerisms of the Beatles.
Were they called Beatlemania again?
I don't remember. It could have been them, but I can't recall. But there was one thing two things about that concert I'll never forget is one, maybe it was who was playing John, maybe. He was like, all right, we're going to start this next song after I take a sip of this water all the way from Poland.
I think
because
I
it was
think I've been
Poland
to that
Spring.
concert. Yeah. I think I've actually been to I think I was actually at that concert.
Wait, at it was in Whippany, right? Malapartis Park.
Oh, no, I don't think it was that one. I think it was somewhere else. It was,
So then maybe it was Beatlemania again.
yeah,
Huh.
because I saw them somewhere else. I think I saw them at Lake Hopatcong.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I know that they were playing over there too. Oh, but the other thing is when they went to Hey Jude, and it gets to the end, and they're like, wait a minute, let me make this as monotone as possible. Nah, 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 nah. Just for you,
Ah,
so you don't get a copyrighted. Uh, and I
yeah.
remember I had a Zippo in my pocket, and I took it out and started going. And whoever it was on stage pointed to me and was like, he's got the right idea. Everybody out with the lighters. And then the whole park brought out their lighters. I'm surprised there wasn't a forest fire.
Yeah. Good thing there wasn't.
Oh God.
Guitar slide and Everyone Wants to Be a Hero is the best part.
Which guitar slide?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he's talking right before the breakdown. There's like this slide that I do. I actually did it accidentally. It was a screw up, but then it sounded good in the mix. So it's like on the upbeat of on 4 right before the chorus starts.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, right. The article. Sorry, we
Yeah.
got really off track.
It was fine. Well, it'll all relate to each other when we're done. This all will have a connection. Think about it from a musician's perspective too. The more music you listen to from a wider base of styles and genres, the better you will understand music and be able to include elements in your own work. We've put together some tips for expanding your musical horizons in the hope of inspiring your musical voyage. Number 1, spot the similarities. I do that all the time. Behind the musical notation, the guitar tone, and the singer's voice, different musical genres share a lot of the same driving characteristics. Some music wants to move you, some wants to make you move. Some music lofty ambitions of inspiring you. Some just wants to be the catalyst for you and your pals having a good time. You may be dead set on being a jazz fan or a metalhead, but try identifying ways in different genres are actually cut from the same cloth, which is what we mentioned before. It's well known that traditionally, bass players in metal bands are notoriously massive hip hop fans. Show me a guitarist of any genre who can't knock out a bit of the blues. I mean, seriously.
I feel attacked.
Yes. Okay. I think that was to your question about the going before the breakdown.
Yes.
I think that could be said with any guitarist. Like 90% of the shred guitarists, like Yngwie Malmsteen, Eddie Van Halen, Paul Gilbert, even Richie Kotzen, like when you really listen to them, can you tell me that they don't have blues influence in their playing or jazz influence?
I gotta say, especially Gilbert, who is someone I was never really like into before you showed me who he was. Like, especially like watching some of his interviews. Dude is not what you would think he would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even guys like Govin, right? Like, it's funny because they're like such these like high virtuosos, and then you hear them talk and it's like, oh yeah, I started playing some blues licks and that's how I got into the guitar. It's like, huh. Like, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like blues is definitely a universal thing among all guitarists, less so with jazz, but if you're speaking to one who is at that point of being a virtuoso, they definitely have jazz influence, whether you can directly hear the music or not.
Yeah. Oh, we got another person. let's get those likes up, guys. Definitely tell your friends.
Oh, I told quite a few.
All right, good stuff. But I do see your point. When I first started, because I had this when I first joined Progress Avenue, I was first like had a huge like Mr. Big, Billy Sheehan phase with and I was even listening to some of David Lee Roth band stuff because Billy Sheehan. Um a lot of the guitarists that he's worked with, Steve Vai, Paul Gilbert, they're like blatant blues influenced guitarists. Like when you hear like I've seen a bunch of videos of Paul Gilbert like talking about his playing and how he plays the guitar like he does, and he says like, oh, I just listen to a lot of blues licks, I listen to a lot of like a lot of different like jazz scales, all this other stuff, and like it makes my playing much more melodic. And when I hear it, I'm like, yeah, it's very bluesy. Like the intro to Alive and Kicking by Mr. Big, it has this like guitar intro, like it's like a chicken picking kind of tone, and it's very, very bluesy, like blatantly bluesy. But it's just incredible. Like I think when you really look into it, like this article says, you're not going to be doing so much of this.
Gathering information ahead of time is also part of the test. I should have found an upperclassman case. Why didn't I think about that before?
Like you're not going to be overthinking like how they're so good at the instrument that they play.
If the second person in the who's watching right now is who I think it is, I don't know what that was, but I'm willing to bet that they could probably name exactly what that was from what scene, in what show.
I know a show.
I'm
what
not-
scene it was.
I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's not trying to subtly roast the weebs out there.
No.
As I sit here with my Dragon Ball Z shirt on.
That being said, it's I really. Yep, that's exactly.
Dr.
Yes.
Jace MD. Are you? I feel like, have I met this person before? Or no?
Oh, it's Jack. So yes,
Oh.
you have.
Hey Jack, how are you? Wasn't paying attention to what just happened. Oh, he probably didn't see the cutaway or the
I
video
roasted the
clip there.
weebs.
Yeah. If I play another clip, he'll probably know what anime it's from. But back to the topic back to the article and back to the topic that we're mentioning. Maybe you'll find new uses of pedals that you haven't previously considered. You can guarantee that the trusty old Boss OD3 has been used in countless genres, each in a slightly different way. And different pedals that I've been looking at really have been impacting my playing in different ways, different genres. Like I've been seeing, like, for example, the song was it Chameleon by Herbie Hancock and the Headhunters? The one that goes pew, 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 pew.
God, I love that.
Yeah, I love that bass line. That was actually that was one of the first like real jazzy bass lines that I've learned. And a lot of the live bass players that play that part, which I know when the Headhunters play it, Herbie Hancock plays it on his synthesizer.
Yeah.
And the bass player does something else, but most of the time when bass players play Chameleon, they play on the bass. And another way to get to emulate that synthesizer sound is from a synthesizer pedal, which other players, like other guitarists, other bass players, could use it for a completely different purpose.
Right.
They could just use it for a tone, maybe in the genre of metal, that would help him with a much more electronic sound. And it could even help like bass players with that sound. Like if a bass player wants to do something more electronic, or say wants to do something more video game sounding, which is electronic, or even like metalcore or something like that, The possibilities are endless, and that does remind me of that. This here is a short video of the Deftones singer Chino Moreno. Let's see what he has to say. Interview. Let me just stop this real quick and put the sound on.
Short clip. We're gonna watch a short clip today in class, 9 minutes long.
I probably won't play the whole thing, but this is so far. Let's see what they have to say. Deftones singer Chino Moreno, 2010 interview about new metal and vocal influences.
It was a time of great change in metal and rock music. And one band that was at the center of that was the Deftones. So when I met with Chino Moreno outside the Molson Amphitheater in Toronto.
And by the way, Chino Moreno is definitely a great vocalist. Like I've listened to a couple of songs by the Deftones, and dude is definitely an incredible talent. What else is new? Besides this podcast, not too much. Just been practicing. Progress Avenue has been just working on new music. So everyone watching, or everyone that will be watching, keep on the lookout for that.
Everyone that's watching wants to be a hero.
Yeah. Till the end of the night.
Blood.
I'm just gonna play the video now.
In 2010, I asked him what was going on back then. And even though I don't think we really figured it out, one thing we did agree on is Faith No More are kings.
Speeding.
Okay, Chino Moreno, take 2. Take me back to around the time when you guys put out your first record, and what was the music scene like at that time?
First record of ours was Adrenaline. It was 1995. We had been a band already for really since '88 when we first started in the garage as kids. You know, the music scene at '95 was, well, we're from Sacramento, which is Northern California, but it's close to like the Bay Area, San Francisco. So a lot of what was going on in the Bay Area, you know, Oakland, you know, Berkeley, just that whole area, we were influenced by. Which bands like at the time, like, well, obviously Metallica is from there, but like Faith No More, for instance. There was a lot of like funk influence, you know, from there too, which to us was kind of, you know, our early roots, I think, musically come from a lot of different places. But one of the things that really is like rhythm-driven, you know, music, as far as like we always looked at making riffs or whatever we're making that had like you could nod your head to it, had, you know, beat pulse to it. And that's from listening, I think, like to early rap music and whatever.
Why was it exciting for you guys?
Well, for me, I think it was natural. I think for us, I mean, we grew up kind of in a, I guess you'd call it the hood, whatever. And that's all the music we were surrounded by, just beats. At that time, it was, you know, the late 80s or, you know, mid 80s as a kid. And, you know, everybody's cars driving by just bassing and bumping. And rhythm was a big part of what we did. So for me, I was introduced to metal really in getting into this band. And Stefan, our guitar player, he's really, you know, he was one of the major writing, you know, forces in the band, obviously at that point. And so his roots were metal, you know. But I would take little parts of his riff. Say he'd have like a riff, but you know, he'd do something and it'd have some rhythm to it where I could feel like it could bounce and hop, and you know, that's how we'd craft the songs. We just make all these little parts, these little rhythmic parts, and mesh them together into songs, you know. And then I'd started to learn how to sing, and I'd kind of sing, you know, all in and out of them, and you know.
And obviously, I mean, around that time, you guys were kind of on the crest, I think, of something new. You know, Korn, I guess, was another California band that was also combining heaviness with rhythm and that hip hop thing.
But to me, I still think, you know, Faith No More was probably the original. I mean, Primus, even, you know, bands that were like, you know, really kind of rhythm oriented, you know, that really started that, especially like with Patton's singing as well as percussive singing, you know, and a lot of that, you know, I think Korn is influenced by as well, you know. Yeah.
Besides Patton, who are your other big vocal influences?
HR from the Bad Brains is a big influence. I mean, he's another person who has his own thing, you know, but very rhythmic and, you know, a lot of soul. And there's a lot. I mean, I grew up listening to Morrissey. So singing wise and lyric wise, I mean, like he was a big influence.
I would have never expected Morrissey from the Smiths.
Right. I actually, sorry, go ahead.
Like when you really think about it, like the Deftones, I guess you could see some similarities with the Smiths, but the Smiths were more of like an alternative kind of band when it came to like rock music, while the Deftones, I guess, were alternative more, but they were more leaning more towards the metal genre, more towards like the punk influence genre. And I guess like there there are like the first thing you would think about is probably not the Smiths. The Smiths, you wouldn't say the Smiths were like a influence on the Deftones. But what do you have to say about it?
I mean, I find that surprising for sure. That but they're so not in the same realm. But
Yeah.
it, I mean, that just goes to show exactly like what any given person can possibly take influence from. You know, like there have been tons of other musicians that I've played with where, you know, the second we start playing, it's like, oh, okay, I can kind of tell, like, I can tell your vibe. Like, oh yeah, that and well, actually, hold on, I'll get into that in a second. Um, but I think people definitely take influence from more places than you could possibly ever give them credit for just listening off the cusp. You know, like when I get together with a musician for the first time, I'm like, there are a number of things that possibly I could do. Most of it is let's go to a 1-4-5 progression because everybody can speak the blues, right?
Hmm.
Just standard, right? But
Yeah.
you, like speaking to me, seeing my long hair, seeing the type of music that I've put out with Progress Avenue, you would never, ever, ever in a million years possibly guess from our current discography that I like jazz.
Mhm.
Barry B. Benson, I like jazz. Um, that I take a lot of inspiration from a lot of those alternative groups and some grunge and classical. I mean, that's a more recent one, but
Mhm.
I mean, seriously, like jamming with me for the first time, most people would probably never get that on the first impression. So I think if it's true for me, it's got to be true for pretty much everybody else, you know.
Yeah.
Um, Also, that being said in regard to this, in regard to the Smiths, um, actually, Nick is somebody, Riccardi, not Boogie, is somebody who really got me into them. I think last summer he showed me the song that he's currently going off about in the comments. This charming man. I
Ah,
dig that song. I dig that
I like
song.
that song too. I also like The Boy with a Thorn in His Side.
Yes.
I think it came from, was it their last album? I can't exactly remember. It's from the album The Queen is Dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I
I really dig them. But I feel like that's another thing. Like first glance of me might not guess that, you know. So
Mhm. Yeah, I remember when we first started jamming and playing together. I saw more of like the blues influence and the classic rock influence, like more than say like the jazz influence. I think when I really started getting to know you, that's when I started knowing about the jazz influences and the other genres of music. And um, that could be said for anybody else that's jams with me, like that jams like even when I first jam with people, they're probably not going to know that, hey, uh I like Nathan Watts, Stevie Wonder's bassist. um he's he's like a big part. Like I love the way he plays his music, and it's like very complex. And like the I could even say that like there's other like funk, soul, and R&B groups that I've took the time to listen to, and that's impacted the way that I've played. Like Sly and the Family Stone. I've listened to a little bit of Tower of Power. Um, there's even some other genres like Michael Jackson's music. Um, Louis Johnson was a Louis Johnson's bass playing. Definitely was a couple pages that I've taken. I I've not I wouldn't compare myself to Louis Johnson because he's on a whole different level, especially with
Hmm.
his slap bass technique. Like I think like he's one of the best when it came to that technique of bass playing. And there's even other genres that I've like explored, like speed metal,
Hmm.
groove metal. I really like groove metal. I like doom metal and sludge metal. I was a huge metal guy. I think a few people have known that. It really depends on like what we're playing. Um, More often than not, I've really I've really taken the time to look and like listen because I'm more so focused on the instrument, and I'm sure you've done that too, Mason, with your guitar playing. Like you really look at the extent of how you can play your instrument.
Definitely after I feel like it's something that takes a more at least intermediate ear. Um I mean I've let's see, when did I start playing? I think the first time I ever picked up a guitar I was in 5th grade, and I didn't really start taking it even remotely seriously until 6th. So
Mm.
that's about a year of not really anything. Um and then fast forward a couple years, pretty much up until once we got into Progress Avenue together. Then I was like, all right, I got to start taking my playing a little bit more seriously. I got a band, I gotta provide the goods. You know what I
Mm.
mean? um, and then especially in the past year and a half, my playing has gone way higher than what it was in all those years previously combined. Not that I'm trying to toot my own horn or anything or hop on my high horse, but I feel like the longer it is that you are playing, the more you can pick out what you're missing. Like you don't have to be there to understand. You don't have to know everything to know that you're missing something. You get to a
Mhm.
certain point where you're like, I have to expand and I know how to do it and I know what I need. I'm just not personally there yet. It takes like a certain ear and a certain mindset to be able to instinctively understand where it is you need to improve and what direction you should go. And usually I tell myself, and I think it's a good point to just constantly branch out, which is the theme of this night's show.
Yeah, basically. I honestly could not have said that better myself. Like that's really how people improve. That's one of the biggest things. And I think I'm gonna get off of this video, but um what I to go off or to piggyback from what you were saying, when I first joined Progress Avenue, I first started with what do I know already that I can already play. That's like pretty much second nature to me. Like, say we first started covering Black Sabbath,
Hmm.
and I like I mentioned before, when I was a junior in high school, I had a massive Black Sabbath phase, and where I was just listening to Black Sabbath and learning how to play the bass parts and just getting to know that pretty well. But but in between, my junior year of high school and playing with you guys, joining Progress Avenue, there were a lot of other techniques that kind of helped me get a grasp or get a good grip on how Black Sabbath played their music and how like how I learned their certain songs, because I took the time to learn the individual techniques, and I learned, what other genres of music were an influence to Black Sabbath. And I just kind of really just went around looking. And again, this isn't to toot my own horn, it's just to really talk about the experiences and talk about like the time I took to to learn this instrument, and to uh pretty much uh go off of one genre to the next and see how one relates to each other. And then you look back and say, oh, this wasn't so bad. I just had to learn it this way. And I'm not trying to discredit any musician saying, oh, one bass line is easier than the other. They all different types of, instrument playing comes with its own challenges. You just need to figure out how you're going to approach those challenges.
I would have to postulate that I think that, especially in to go off a bit of what you said, it's definitely like you are always striving to find, maybe it's not so much in the big picture, but you're always striving for that next step, right? I can give actually a decent example. I've been trying to learn how to sweep pick. Okay, so the bigger picture I knew was sweep picking. Okay, I want to be able to do that. All right, you two are metalheads. I've never really learned any of the metal method or technique. So it's like, all right, let's what's a good technique? Sweep picking. Okay, I can do that. My first vision is, okay, I can sweep pick on triads on the bottom 3 strings, up and down. Okay, that's cool. Now let's do a whole chord and let's do it clean. All right, awesome. Now let's move up the neck, every single scale degree. Perfect. And it's like, not even just with like musicianship. I feel like that could be applied to literally anything in life, where there's always going to be a better version of you somewhere in the future if you put that into play. And again, especially with finding new genres, that's a part of it. Like you find a new technique, you find what could possibly be a better you tomorrow when you pick up your instrument. And I mean, you got to make it happen. It takes work, but being able to broaden your horizons, I feel really plays into that like perfectly. Like tomorrow I could wake up and go, hey, look, I want to get even better at reading music. All right, step 1, learn the notes on the clef. I mean, I'm past that, but you know my point, right? Like,
Yeah.
There's something special about being able to branch off and play something new and get to that better version of a musician that you may want to be. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there. I'll shut up for the next couple minutes to let you get your word in. But
You're fine. I think I'm just gonna read a little more of this. I'm just gonna read the rest of this article, and then I'm going to just gonna go to the final thoughts.
Okay.
And that'll be it.
Cudio.
I believe we left off on step 2, number 2, which is spot the differences. The flip side to the first tip is to recognize and identify ways in which different genres are, well, different. You can learn a lot from what you don't understand, after all. It can be beneficial to your musical development to listen to wildly different music with a critical ear. What is the drummer doing? How are the songs arranged? What's the production like? It may not be that way. It may not be that you want to copy their style. You might not like it at all. But this approach will certainly make you think about your own techniques. Perhaps a slight difference in the way an instrument is played, or even in the instrument itself, will spark something new. If you're a drummer, for example, you might consider getting into drum machines or samplers. The Roland Era TR8 is a fantastic piece of kit, and knowing the drums like you do, you'll be creating incredible beats in no time. Like,
first of all, product pushing.
Yeah. Nice
Second
job
of all,
with
that. Second of all, everybody ask what drummer doing. Nobody asked how drummer doing.
Exactly. Like Phil Collins, he was known for that. Like he was first the big bad drummer, the drummer of Genesis, who by the way is an incredibly underrated drummer. Like if you listen to the Genesis albums from Nursery Crime to like their big prog era albums like Nursery Crime to Trick of the Tail, like those set of albums together, like when you really stop and listen and you like think like pay close attention to what the drums are doing, you will see that like what he's doing is actually pretty complex, pretty challenging. And I will have to admit the way that he's handled the drum machines, say on his solo album No Jacket Required, I think is a fine example of Colin's songwriting. Like the song Take Me Home, the fun fact, Peter Gabriel and Sting sung backing vocals on that song.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
they
Peter.
sang.
Okay, Peter Gabriel makes sense, but Sting, really? Huh.
Yeah, I believe Sting and Phil Collins have made music together. I know they performed at Live Aid together.
Yes, they did. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but that's a fine example of the drum machine. I forget what drum machine he's using specifically for that song.
I know it's a
But-
Roland, whatever that is, TR8, which is a fantastic piece of kit. And knowing the drum parts like you do, you'll be creating incredible bass line, some beats in no time at all. Remember, it's the Roland TR8.
Yeah, one.
Buy
Actually,
one now.
That kind of makes me want to look it up. Take Me Home. I'm gonna look that up. Take Me Home
I can't even read that. Does that say era?
by Collins Phil.
Collins Phil.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what bugs me more than putting first name or last names first is when on the radio they play a band and don't put the in the beginning, so it's just like Cars. Just what I.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
said the forbidden song.
Oh no, the forbidden fruit of all music bands. Weird.
Music.
It is a Roland, but it's not an IRA TR8. It was a Roland TR909 and Roland TR707. Oh,
Well, yeah, the 909 was a really famous model, I think,
Mhm.
right? It was the 909 and the 808. Well, the 808 was I think that was what started the whole. I think isn't that what started the whole sampling of beats in hip hop, right? Wasn't that like a big craze in the 90s with the 808?
Yeah. The 808 was a big thing in the 90s. But on to step 3. Read between the lines. Even putting the musical elements aside, you can certainly develop your ability to write and compose by listening to other styles. For example, if you want to know how to slowly build up and then drop a fat beat down, you should listen to whoever wrote
Quag.
this. Quag? What's Quag doing? I'm feeling merciful today. I'm not even gonna say anything.
Fat beat down.
That beat down. I'm feeling merciful today. I'm not gonna say anything. Check out Mars from Holst's The Planets if you don't believe me. Likewise, if your
Ooh.
lyrics need a bit of work. I'm not familiar with that.
I really like I like Holtz. He was somebody I got into in senior year before I've had my recent classical music craze. But especially Mars, I think the Black Sabbath riff, right? They got that because of Mars, because there was the Devil's Tritone in Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Geezer Butler heard that and was like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then that's how they made Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah,
The song, not the song.
Yeah, the Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath from the album.
Yes,
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah. You know what I gotta say to that, Mason?
Anime.
Yeah, boy!
What?
Just because we referenced Black Sabbath, I had to.
Oh, okay, right.
What was I saying? Likewise, likewise, if your lyrics need a bit of work, you might consider learning a bit of wordsmithery from some of hip hop's finest.
Whoever wrote this, I love him. Or her. Or her.
Oh man. Oh boy. The cues and inspiration are all out there. You just need to go and find them. Now, look, I do give them, I give them an A for effort for the way that they wrote this. It's nice, but it just feels too like dad jokey to me. Too like 40-year-old mom with the Minions memes. That it feels too much of that. And
The Minions memes.
I've and I know you guys are probably feeling like this about the article.
What, no warning? I said no second chance.
I should have warned you about the article, and I'm sorry, but let's continue. Let's continue. Reinterpret. Number 4, reinterpret. A neat trick done many times over is taking a song from one specific genre and repurposing it in a completely different style. Think about it. Florence and the Machine covering You Got the Love, or any one of those twee ukulele covers of old rock songs you hear on TV adverts. This is a great way to build a repertoire and a style of your own while showing off your credibility and musical skill. And believe me, it's also a heck of a lot of fun. Don't quite understand that. What do they mean by reinterpret? What do you get from this, Mason?
I mean, I think that it would actually wait. It makes perfect sense to me. I think that it touches upon what I was saying before, that like jazz hop, for example. Again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, hey, some jazz guys or some hop guys are like, wait a minute, they're both pretty cool. Let's do something with it. I don't think it's really any different than Cream taking a bunch of Robert Johnson's songs and going, yeah, you know what? We're gonna do a Marshall Stax and we're gonna let her go. You know, it's like,
and now we
gotta make it your own. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like I think it's really imperative to make something your own, and you know, after a while, playing covers the exact way that they are gets boring.
Jarring.
You want to find your own sound.
Yeah, I completely get that. Like Led Zeppelin, their first album or first 2 albums were mostly covers or famous blues and folk covers. And when you hear Led Zeppelin's version, like it does sound like it's their own version compared to the original. It's not. I guess it isn't always the same with some of their songs, like Dazed and Confused. It does sound similar to the original, but there are, noticeable differences, like the breakdowns, the instrumental breaks, the, what do you call it? And just like the chemistry between band members. Like I could name, hell, Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash is a perfect example of this, because he takes all these songs, he takes all these like really big hits from the 80s and 90s and says, you know what, I'm going to play it like this and it's going to sound like this, not like how they performed it, how I perform it. And he, more often than not, it ends up being the better version. No offense to anyone, no offense to the originals, which I think some of them have even said, like Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails. I think he's openly said that Johnny Cash's version of Hurt is better than their version.
Hendrix with All Along the Watchtower, right?
Yeah,
written by
that's
Bob
another
Dylan.
great example.
And after it came out, Bob Dylan started playing it like Hendrix's version, because he was like, I think he said something along the lines of, I had never envisioned it in that way, but after he took it and did what he did, it's like it just can't be performed any other way.
Yeah. And
I think that same principle could apply to not even just covers, just like public perception, right? Like I read in one interview with Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, and they oh, what song was it? Alive, right?
Mhm.
When he sings the "Oh, I'm still alive," blah blah blah. It was supposed to be. I read that he meant it as in like, "Oh God, I'm still alive. Why am I still alive?" But then everybody who listened to the song took it as like this turnaround, like this fight, like, "Oh yeah, I'm still alive. I'm still here." And he was like, and after everybody who heard the song thought of it that way, it changed the meaning for me, and it actively changed the way that I performed it live. And I think stuff like that is really cool. Like how an
Mhm.
audience's perception can completely even something like that could change how a performer will do his work. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome.
That reminds me of two other songs. Um, one that I've mentioned before, I think I mentioned this in the Chicago Open discussion because we were talking about 25 or 6 to 4. Um, the song "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins. A lot of people back in the day, back in the 2000s or back in the 90s, probably as early as like the 80s or 90s, were interpreting it as a song where Phil Collins watched somebody drown, and that guy that apparently the guy that supposedly made the guy drown or saw the guy drown, he was at Phil Collins' show and Phil found him and shined the light on him. And I think if you ever heard the Eminem song "Stan,"
Yes.
he actually references that how a lot of people think that that's what "In the Air Tonight" is about, and Phil Collins has openly said this is not what it's about. I was just angry because I was going through a divorce, and I was just, it was just kind of like the fighting that I had to happen with Collins and his ex-wife. And
It's fun.
it's just so wild how people like interpret it and how people reinterpret.
Whenever I think of Eminem, I don't actually think of Eminem. Have you ever watched Trailer Park Boys?
I've seen clips of the show. I haven't seen like full episodes.
I forget the
might give it a
guy's
try.
name. But in the show, there's a character who's basically Eminem. Like
Mhm.
he dresses like him. He actually even kind of looks like him. And
Is his name Skittles?
no, but the joke is that he's a rapper trying to get off the ground, and he's a white guy who genuinely believes he's black. And that's the whole premise for his character, right? So when I think of Eminem, I don't actually think of Eminem. I think of this character from Trailer Park Boys,
Oh man.
which I get it was like a critique. Maybe I don't know if if they were getting that deep into it. It's a pretty stupid show, but
If we're reinterpreting it, it could be like people could look at this as a commentary of like white guys, like trying to get into rap, trying to like get it out there, like get their music out there and try to be the next Eminem, which
ooh,
I hate to say it, nobody can be the next Eminem. Eminem is Eminem. Like no other,
holy crap.
even the other white rappers out there will say that they're not Eminem. There's only one Eminem.
Mm.
And
Yes, and
that's how
it's the green Eminem.
yeah, the ones that Eddie Van Halen doesn't like.
Touche.
But
Oh God, I'm bracing myself for this next point. Open your mind.
yeah, I'm not gonna play this video because I don't want to get the video taken down.
Copyright.
Yeah, YouTube's been on every music YouTuber's ass about copyright.
Utter
Number
poop.
5, yeah. Number 5 is open your mind. The final tip is perhaps the most obvious. Open your mind. You never know what gems you'll find if you start looking. As a piece of advice, if you're using one of the popular music streaming services like Spotify or Apple Music, make use of the recommendation and discovery functions like we mentioned before, because on Apple Music, when I look on the main page, they will give me references or different genres of music that they would think that I would like or want me to check out. And you never know, take a chance, and you might end up liking something. Um, Spotify has a feature where every week it creates you a new playlist full of stuff it thinks you might like based on your previous listening history. Find it, and it might just change your life. Your life.
Your life.
Yeah, your life. Your Lysol. But on to the final thoughts. What do you got to say, Mason?
Honestly, I feel like I've covered just about everything that just about every point that I came into this thinking. But I mean, if I had to give my piece of a little conclusion, it would just be like, it's important to branch out. I mean, you gotta, as much as your like your podcast on influences, as much as wearing your influences, high and bright, like that's something to be proud of. It's something that you found. It's something that you love. It's something that you're always gonna feel like is you. And definitely, I mean, for the rest of my life, I'll be playing blues licks, and I'm content with that. But you got to branch out, and you got to learn more, and you got to, if you really love it, you got to learn more, and you got to strive to be more. And it's a beautiful thing that I can now find anything that I want just from this. I think, as much as the filthy Frank critique on all of those losers who would rather be growing up in the 70s right now, I'd honestly would rather be growing up right now, right where I am, because I have access to all the music in the world in my pocket. So yeah, eat that. You had to go to a store and buy a vinyl, and you didn't even know what it sounded like before you got it. So yeah,
Exactly.
How's that $10 for a Spotify subscription?
And the funny thing is, people back then, in order to have like that opinion to be able to tell whether the album's good or bad, is they'd actually have to go to the store, buy the album, listen to the album, and form their own opinion. Like, it was very much bare bones, more like so. And quite honestly, I do agree with you. A lot of people that are, and a lot of other people, like both millennials and older, are to blame for this. That people out there are very
Boomers.
closed-minded. Yeah, the boomers, the Gen X's, not to say all of them, but a good portion of them will say that, oh, my generation sucks. I wish I was born in this era. This era was better, this genre of music. But when you really think about it, that's just being closed-minded, and that's just going to influence musicians to be closed-minded, and that's not what we want. I think that we live in one of the best eras of music when it comes to listening to it, because like you said,
Oh, geez, did he cut out? Or is it moi? Well, I think he cut out. And he's not coming back. Okay, in that case. Gee, it's lonely in here. A little awkward, maybe a little. I don't know if I so humbly shall continue for Lou. I feel like it's definitely. Oh, yep. And then there was one. I feel like his or both of our points really.
sorry about that.
Oh, he's back.
It chose now to do that, and that really sucks. I swear, I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi today. It's my Wi-Fi today, and I should have unplugged. I should have just unplugged the system and plugged it back in entirely, because usually when I do that, it's just, oh, it's perfectly fine. But as I was saying before about the whole access to music, if you were to say, if you were even to say in the 80s or 90s that you were going to be able to listen to music on your cell phone, like on your call people, and that you probably only have minutes to do. Like it'll give you like a certain amount of minutes, or else you'll run your bill up. Um, if you were to say, I'll give a random year, 1985, like the Bowling for Soup song. If you were to say that, hey, I can listen to music on my phone. I could just go onto this app called Apple Music, search a song I like, say "Crazy on You" by Heart.
Something by Stan Getz.
Yeah. Let me search "Crazy on You" by Heart. Um, oh, I'm not gonna play it, but here you go. Here you go. "Crazy on You" by Heart. Right there. Right on your fingertips. Right there. And it's one of the no do you, I don't think anyone will believe you. That's my point.
I don't even know if I'd believe myself, Lou, if I'm being
Yeah.
completely honest.
But you gotta to the whole point, back to expanding your horizons, why I relate to this whole, like, we live in the best generation for listening to music. It's because we have all this access. You have all these opportunities that you could take to listen to different genres. I'm still expanding my horizons to improve my playing. There's genres out there that I haven't really taken the time to listen to that I'm starting to listen to now, like jazz and jazz fusion. Um, I would say 5 years ago, you wouldn't have expected me to actually just go out of my way and listen to jazz. I wouldn't have cared. But 5 years later, I'm here listening to Weather Report, Return to Forever, some Miles Davis, just seeing how these jazz licks go, how these musicians, perform, what's the chemistry behind it. Like what do you call it? The
Daunting.
song yeah, the song "So What" by Miles Davis. I took the time to listen to it and actually learn it. Well, most of it. I'm not gonna, learn it by heart and learn each note for note. But I broke down the pieces, or I broke down the type of music that, or broke down what they do in the song. What was I gonna say? Weather Report, yeah. If you haven't listened to Weather Report, I would suggest Heavy Weather. Their 1977 album, Heavy Weather. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that down in the chat. Heavy Weather. Their 1977 album, Heavy Weather. Definitely check that out. That's probably my favorite Weather Report song. I think it has, people. I think that, yeah, it's fine to, like, listen to something and not like it. Just make sure that you've actually listened to it for you to have an opinion to say, like, I don't like this. Like, for me, Asking Alexandria, the band Asking Alexandria, the English metalcore band, I've actually taken the time to listen to them, and I do not like them. I formed that opinion, and I stick into that. I've seen them live before. Like, I used to go to Warped Tour when Warped Tour was a thing. The last Warped Tour I went to, they performed, and I can honestly say I didn't think they were good, and that's just my opinion. This is no disrespect to any of the members of the bands. They're probably really cool people in real life. I just don't like the way that they sound. Does this mean I don't like metalcore? No. Does this discourage me from other types of metalcore? No. But it's just, I don't like that band. And like Bullet for My Valentine, I think they do the same genre. I think they're great. I think they're a really good band. Bullet for My Valentine. They're from Wales, I believe. They're a metalcore band from Wales. And I think they're actually a really good band. And I've actually listened to their music. I've went out of my way and listened to their music. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty good. And to piggyback from what I was saying about jazz, I just kind of like stopped for a second because I never saw any interest in listening to jazz. But when I actually dial it back, what do you call it? When I dial it back, play jazz, or listen to jazz, there's a lot that I can appreciate, like the way that a certain musician would play the song. Say that, we're gonna do this song in Mixolydian mode, and we're just gonna be able to jam like that. Sometimes it ends up, you end up having fun doing jams like that, like the Miles Davis song "So What." It's just two chord scales, or two types of, it's just one type of scale but in two keys, D Dorian and E flat Dorian, and it's just that. It's just that type of scale in the Dorian scale, but in D and E flat, and that's all there is to it. Am I saying that this isn't really good songwriting? No, I think that it's incredible when you could take something as simple as one entire scale and make it into a full song. That's impressive. Like Express Yourself by Charles Wright. That song is just E flat Ionian throughout the whole song. E flat, the E flat major scale, because the main bass line is just an E flat major scale. Like it's not the actual E flat major scale. Like
Right.
It uses the E flat major scale.
Oh, whoa, the major scale. Oh, I don't know, man. That might get copyrighted, man. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
Oh man, it really has me thinking like this.
The body types and have a range of gear for everyone from teens to seniors. Logistics are going to scare the children. Stop.
Jack, name that anime.
Yeah, if you can name the anime, I'll give you another shout out. But what was I gonna say? It's just that song. Like, you'd be surprised, like what uses you can actually use to interpret, like, for your music alone. Like, whenever I come up with certain songs, I don't think about the key sometimes. I just think about how am I going to play it. Like our song Skyline of Love, I didn't think about the key. I just thought about certain scales that would fit the song.
Right.
You just got to think about what scales you think. Yes, it is from My Hero Academia, or Academia. I don't remember how it's pronounced.
Oh my God! Did he pin it down to the season?
Unfortunately, he did not. The season that's season 2, the end of season 2, I believe. Yeah, that was like the end of season 2, I believe.
You've been outweebed.
Yeah,
that should be a word in the dictionary. Holy crap!
Weebed. I'm gonna put that as a hashtag. Bear with me, guys, before I'm gonna make another hashtag.
My good God.
You've been outweebed. I think I should get rid of the apostrophe, but that's what happens. T-shirts for outweebed.
Yes.
T-shirts for outweebed. But it's just what do you call it? My point to that is just find a genre you're not used to. Like, I'm not saying find a genre you don't like, that you're not really like, I'm not crazy about this. Just find a genre that you're not familiar with, that you don't really have an opinion on, and just listen to it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you end up liking it, cool, really cool stuff. Like, I can give you different genres right now. Like, I give you different salsa artists, Fania All Stars, Hector Lavoe, Willie Colon, just anything by the Fania All Stars. That's the big salsa group from the big salsa label from the 60s and 70s. There's some other genres that's like Gilberto. I forgot his last name. My mom's gonna kill me for that. There's Tito Rodriguez, Tito Nieves, different kinds of salsa. If you don't like Puerto Rican salsa, go to Mexican salsa like Luis Miguel. the older types of Mexican salsa music. You could even listen to like Afro-Cuban jazz. That's a different kind of genre. I can't really name any specifics. You could listen to bachata music like Prince Royce or Romeo Santos, the Dominican type of music. Um, you could listen to reggaeton like Daddy Yankee, um, Osuna. He's a big reggaeton artist. I don't think he's as big as Bad Bunny, but he's big. Bad Bunny you could check out. I'm not too big a fan of all these reggaeton artists. I mean, I grew up listening to Daddy Yankee because I grew up in an area where Daddy Yankee was popular, and you could even uh say you even go to genres like R&B and soul. There's a lot that I figured out that I liked. I love Stevie Wonder. I love his songwriting. I think his approach to music is one of the most unique approaches to music, even for an R&B and soul artist. Marvin Gaye, the Funk Brothers, the ones that are responsible for that Motown sound, like James Jamerson. James Jamerson ends up being like he was one of the earliest like examples of like incorporating like bass to your music, like really having that bass, like really making bass the forefront in music.
Forefront.
Yeah. We were talking about Nick's father's band. But
bring me.
Yeah, there's different. I know that there's a lot of drummers out there that are, they have that set of genres of music that they're stuck to, but or even bass players out there that are like stuck to that set of genres. Like it could be metal, country blues, it could be bluegrass, it could be funk, where they're just stuck with that and just only that. I could even name other groups from like the genre of music that people would expect me to like that I actually really don't like. I'm not a big fan of Kiss. I don't think they're bad or anything. I just couldn't get into them. Or
Yeah, same here. I ain't really they have a couple of songs that I like, but I'm not waking up in the morning going like, "Oh my god, Kiss." Like
yeah. Like I don't hate them. I don't think they're a terrible band. I'm just like I'm not the kind of person that would just sit there and be like, Kiss. Like, there's no, I don't.
Oh my god, Kiss.
But this is, and I'm not going to deny that they're great live. I've heard that. I know a lot of people that have seen Kiss live multiple times, and they say that they're a great live band. There's a couple of Kiss songs that I like. I love the whole Kiss album Destroyer. I think that's probably their best work. And they're great musicians, they're great players, but I couldn't get into them. Like they're not a band that I would listen to going out of my way, because like I just could not get into Kiss. And was the other band, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I like a decent amount of their songs, but I'm not a huge fan of them either. And sorry, Dad, I know you're a huge diehard fan. I know you're a huge fan of them, but it does, like I said, it doesn't mean I think they're bad. I think they have some great tunes like Aeroplane, Under the Bridge.
Oh man, Aeroplane is a bop.
Aeroplane is that's actually a hard song on bass. Like that's like I think one of Flea's most challenging songs. What was I gonna say? A bunch of other songs from Blood Sugar Sex Magik I really like Suck My Kiss, Give It Away. Give It Away is a pretty good song.
Oh, I like Breaking the Girl. That's a real vibe of a song.
Mm-hmm. And Metallica. I know I mentioned that I liked Metallica, but I can't really say that I'm a fan. I'm not a fan of Metallica, but like it doesn't mean I hate them, and it doesn't mean like I'm completely turned off by them. It's just all in all, there's not a lot of their work that I'm a fan of. Like I love their first 3 albums. Yeah, it's hit and miss. I think some of their albums are hit, others are miss.
Up, down, up, down, wah up, wah down, wah up, wah
Yeah.
down.
Kirk Hammett solos. It's been that way since the Black Album.
Oh jeez.
And I'm gonna be honest. Injustice for All has some good songs. I know
does.
that's like a big bass player sin to say like, oh, you're supposed to hate Injustice for All. It has no bass. But there are
Lars is a butthole.
there are some good Injustice for All songs. There are some good songs that Injustice for All has come out with. I like one. I like Harvester of Sorrow. I like The Frayed Ends of Sanity. I even like their instrumental To Live Is to Die. Like their one album from the 90s era Metallica. I think I mentioned this in musical hot takes. I actually like Load. Load is a decent Metallica album that I I know I'm gonna get hate from the metal elitists saying like, you're supposed to hate 90s Metallica. How dare you? You betrayed us, LA. This is how we feel right now.
The fans deserve better.
Thank you for that clip, Glenn Fricker. That great clip. But it's
I love Glenn Fricker.
Glenn Fricker is the GOAT. It's I like Load. It's a genuinely enjoyable Metallica album. And I've heard their new album is good too, but I haven't taken the time to listen to that album.
Oh, it's actually a really good album. I remember when it dropped, I heard it, I think the day it dropped, they played the whole thing on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was blown away. Like, it's like their first like album, you know what I mean? In like decades, you know, like they really, they captured something there that was really good for like through and through, really good.
Mm-hmm. And that's honestly how I feel about Load. Like I think like Load I don't think Load is a great album particularly. It's not like a masterpiece. Say like I don't even think I wouldn't even say it's as good as Ride the Lightning or Kill 'Em All, which it's another album that I like. I know some people really don't like it cuz you know, production's not all there, but I actually like Kill 'Em All. I think it's a good Metallica album, but so is Load. Load, I think that Load was very different from you know, Metallica's thrash metal sound, but I like what they did with it. It was still heavy, but it wasn't thrash metal. It was still heavy, I think, because of the subject matters that they talked about on the album. Like I love the riffs off of Load, like Bleeding Me. That's one of my favorite songs. That's probably my favorite song off of that album. The Outlaw Torn, I love that riff. That's actually, and Kirk Hammett actually uses the wah pedal on the Outlaw Torn, but he does it in a way that it's actually like unique and different from, you know, the Black Album. And I got to give him props for that. And I think they had a similar production. The production value was very similar to the Black Album, because the Black Album by Metallica had some of their best work. And again, this is not a band that I've often listened to, but I can learn to appreciate what they do. And, you know, I can learn to take it to consideration with my music, how it sounds. What are they doing on this album that's, you know, different from other artists? And that's, you know, one of the many things that you have to do with expanding your horizons, the differences more than the similarities. Because when you really think about it, when you listen to the differences in how artists play and you learn it yourself, your playing actually will improve a great deal. And I'm speaking from experience. Like when you learn the different artists and different genres of music, and when you manage, you know, when you manage to really break down what they're doing and you can learn it yourself, your playing will improve. What do you think? Do you think that that's helped your playing, Mason? Do you think that, you know, going to finding different genres and seeing their differences in their playing and like learning it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, I to put it as nice as I can. Um, I wouldn't be like half the player that I am if I didn't pay attention to other people. I mean, that's what I've been saying the whole. How long have we been on? Oh my god. Uh, that's what I've been saying the whole podcast, man. Like, I would not be as good of a player as I am, especially if I've definitely gone through different periods.
Mhm.
Right now, in terms of rock, I'm really vibing with Alice in Chains right now,
I
and
love Alice in Chains.
right, um,
Mhm.
and
I'm just putting that out there.
uh, I wouldn't say that that's so much helped my guitar playing, although Jerry Cantrell's a really good guitar player. Um,
Mhm.
but compositionally, especially in terms of vocal harmony, whoa! I mean, just the things that Cantrell and Staley did together. I mean, just beautiful harmony for days, and that's
Mhm.
definitely made me zoom out and go, wait a minute, I can definitely achieve more with vocal harmony than what I thought before. So that's helped me more compositionally now, not in terms of really guitar playing, but I mean, that's not for everything. I mean, I had a period where uh, last month I was really digging Van Halen. So I learned some Van Halen songs and
Mhm.
I got a bit of that technique. And that's another thing that kind of sparked me forward with, oh, okay, so the whole metal technique, let's get into that, right? So that's
Mhm.
had a lasting effect, you know? It's like I feel like I feel like it can be said that if you don't like a musical genre, I think it's easy to say that you hate it. Um, but I would actually like to put forth that I think it's easy to think that you may hate a musical genre, but it's harder to admit that maybe you're not ready for it yet. You know, if I
Yeah.
had this recent fixation with Alice in Chains, if I had that like what, a year ago, it would not have affected me as much then as it is now, knowing what I know now, right? I feel
Mhm.
like, things come and go musically and they will click when they're ready to click. And a good Zappa quote, actually, I am just as influenced by things that I don't like. Um, on
Yeah.
his first album, Freak Out, he oh god, I think it was like hundreds of names and musical acts that that he liked and disliked. And I remember there was an interview with him, and he was like, "That well, no." The interviewer was like, "Well, do you like all of them?" And he's like, "No, actually, out of those hundreds of musical artists, I only genuinely like about maybe 25 of them." And the interviewer was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, I'm easily influenced by things that I don't like, and I will listen to them." So,
Mhm.
a certain respect for that perspective. That's really a breath of fresh air. You know, from
And
50 years ago. So
I think that he's the perfect example of that, really. The perfect example of expanding your musical horizons because not only did he say that he was more influenced from the artists that he didn't like, he also said without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible. And I think he took what he said about being more influenced by the things he didn't like to heart with deviating from the norm. Yeah.
is it? Wait,
What happened?
that was a quote by him.
Yeah, without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible.
There are layers to this.
Did I just blow your mind?
There 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 are layers to this. Okay, so scream it to the sky. Okay. Deviation from the norm. Is that where you got that from?
No,
And
that's not where I got it from.
and
Honest,
in
honest
the
to
same
God, no.
quote, in the same quote, he says progress. This is a sign. I don't know from who or what, but this is a sign.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way. Wow.
I don't
Well,
know. I don't know what the sign means either, but I know it's just a sign.
yeah, I think that sounds more subconsciously. But before I end it, I think
Yeah.
the last thing that you probably brought up was probably one of the best things you could have brought up. The whole listening to other genres of music and seeing how they compose their music, because you know, going to school, believe it or not, it's, I know school's not for everybody, but when you go to school, and like I went to college and took theory classes and saw how chord progressions work, and then I looked at, songs with simpler chord progressions that are just like, like the pop songs that are like just 4 chords throughout the whole song, or like a rock song that changes chord progressions, say like the verse is like 1 4 5 and then the chorus is like 1 6 5 4 or something like that.
Oh, what's the tried and true? The 1 5 4 6 or the 1 4 5 6 or the
Yeah,
Fangio progression? Yeah.
yeah, and the Let It Be progression, it was like 1 5 6 4, I think it was.
Yeah.
And Don't Stop Believing's chord progression, the famous four. That's basically the famous 4 chord song.
Wait, even Utaba, that's hold on, F sharp, so that's 1, and then we go to B, that's 4, and then we're going to do do do. That's a oh, that's a
I don't know
different
if
kind of dyad.
yeah, I don't remember, because I know if we're going by notation, there's F sharp, then it's B. I don't know. I don't remember what chord, because I which is kind of bad on my part to say, because I don't pay attention to the exact chord, even if it's my a song that I wrote with you, which I should. I think it was. Is it a B minor that you went, or was it a B power chord?
So it's a B power chord, but then I do a
It goes to A and then G sharp and then back to F sharp.
yeah. Oh, so that's a yeah, but I do that move which is no, it's not A. Is it
Is it the Isn't it
G?
pre-chorus?
No, man, the I know the chords of the pre-chorus. That's all inversions on uh G. No. Wait. G. Give me a second. Inversions of D. Inversions of
Oh.
D.
Mhm.
And took me a second. Oh, see, now I know. Better tomorrow. I gotta practice memorizing chord inversions, or at least
Yeah.
visualizing them faster.
Find different genres that practice chord inversions.
Jazz.
Yeah, jazz.
God.
Whenever you need some complex chord structures, jazz.
Yes. Yeah. Anything that just sounds not key. Jazz.
Mhm. Yeah, jazz.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess my closing thought would be that definitely you got to take it one step at a time, and finding new music is always going to be important, and it's always going to influence your playing. And no matter what time you find a certain type of music in your life, it can influence you in either or, good or bad. And I think it's good to take away as much you can from anything that you hear, period. And that's how you progress. Progress.
Yeah.
Avenue.
Yeah, before I start concluding this, what genre of music like would you say that you've been listening to recently that's out of your comfort zone?
Oh, classical. 100%
Classical?
classical.
For me, it's jazz.
Mm.
Like, for me, it's definitely been jazz. But honestly, that's about it, guys. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to see videos similar to this one. For any updates regarding the podcast, Instagram at LA Perez Works. Just keep note on my Instagram.
Gee, I sure
story.
hope it works.
Road work up ahead. Road work ahead.
I'll see myself out.
But yeah, Instagram at LA Perez Works. Just watch my Instagram stories for any updates on the podcast, and Cash App Louis ATM 929. I know the name is goofy. I forgot when I came up with it, but if you want to see any progress of the podcast, like any new equipment, just drop down there. Obviously
Progress Avenue live show.
Yeah, that as well. See you, Jack. Thank you for coming on. Thank you to anyone else that was on the show for coming tonight. I appreciate that. Definitely tell your friends about this podcast, but keep in mind of that. Cash App, Louis ATM, $ Louis ATM 929. I'm no stranger to money, and you'll definitely see what.
I'm no stranger to money.
No, who is Mason? Who is?
Dude, what the?
Who?
I'm gonna use that from now. I'm gonna use that from now on.
But
that was good.
Every little bit helps. The point of the Cash App is just every little bit helps. It will obviously go to podcast equipment and multiple things regarding the podcast, regarding what this channel is all about. Because definitely keep in mind that, and I will definitely show you the receipts. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a good rest of your week and have a great weekend. So far, you'll tune in with me next week for more podcasts or more live streams. So keep in mind of that. Anyways, have a good night, and as always, stay tuned.